Alright, so in this video we'll be going over reporting for an independent samples t-test. You may also know this is a between subjects t-test or a two-sample t-test. So I've got just some canned data here. So here we have the function that we're using in R. So we're using our t-test, our dv, our iv. That's what we've named our two variables with values of control versus treatment for our iv, and our dv is just some random numbers. Okay. So when we look at this, we can see we have our observed t statistic, our degrees of freedom for the test, and then our exact p-value for the test. It will also report down here at the bottom the actual sample means in the control condition and the treatment condition. Okay, so when you actually go about reporting a t-test in APA style, you never actually say the null hypothesis was rejected or retained. What you always use is sort of a statistical code word where we talk about significant, where significant really just essentially means that the null hypothesis was rejected. So code word for the null hypothesis was rejected. So when we actually say this, we talk about there was or was not a significant mean difference, not that the null hypothesis was or was not rejected. So if we were to go ahead and report this, one of the big things we want to talk about is identifying what our independent variable was and what our dependent variable was. And what this will look like is essentially saying that, hey, for our dv, the independent variable did or did not cause a significant difference. So we've just named these dv and iv. So let's just go ahead and follow that convention for our dependent variable. The independent variable, and then this is the point where we'd say did or did not cause a significant difference. Looking over at our data to the right, we have our t-value, our degrees of freedom, and our p-value, and that's really what we're going to hone in on here. That p-value is what we're really going to sort of come to whether we're judging if there's a significant difference or not. This is what we actually judge as greater than or less than our alpha level. Assuming we're using a standard alpha of 0.05, this p-value is greater than that, so p is greater than 0.05. And so we do not reject the null hypothesis in this situation. So the independent variable did not cause a significant difference. Okay? Now that we've got that sentence out of there, now we go back in and actually report it, what our actual statistics were. Now, the sentence does have to stand on its own without any of the numbers in it. So what we need to do is have a full, complete sentence from the get-go. We've got that now. Now we can go in adding our numbers. Now we need to set it off from the rest of the sentence. I like doing that with a comma. You could also use a parentheses in this instance, but the first thing we need to indicate is a t for t-test. Then we need parentheses, and in these parentheses we need to input our degrees of freedom, which in this case was 46. Parentheses equals, and then we report our actual observed t statistic, not our critical value if you're doing this by hand, but your observed t statistic, so the value you calculate or that R will give you. In this case, it's 0.05, so it's very small, and so 0.5, 1 to 2 decimal places is the convention for reporting t-values. Then we need another comma. Now we can report our p-value, so p in this case is greater than 0.05. You could do that, okay, because we're talking about what our alpha level is. Now, that's the basics of it. Now, you could do it multiple different ways stylistically, okay, in terms of what your sentence is. But this part right here, there's really only one style change you have, and that's whether or not, instead of saying p is equal to 0.05, you actually say p equals 0.62, rounding to 2 decimal places. It's acceptable to report an exact p-value as a decimal, never scientific notation, which is another side story. But anyway, So you could write this sentence differently, okay? You could say the treatment, because that's what our IV is actually listed as. If we actually were to say print it out, example, $IV, we have treatment and control. The treatment did not cause a significant mean difference from the control condition, and then T46 equals 0.5, P is greater than 0.05. We'll go that way for this one. You could write the sentence that way. That's acceptable. Indeed, this is sometimes better because you could work in, okay, let's add some parentheses and state what the mean is in this case. So you can report descriptive statistics in that sentence as well. And then, 6.1 equals 6.1. I got my mean values different. Control 6.1 and the treatment, and I'm looking at these numbers right here, is 5.58, so you want to round to the same number of decimal places, so let's go 5.6. So that's also not acceptable. Now you could also say, well, this is a results section, and maybe we shouldn't be talking about causing as well, so you could edit this sentence as well to say, okay, there was not, actually that's a better way to handle that altogether, there was not a significant difference between the treatment and control conditions. Again, we have a full sentence. It stands on its own. Then we add the statistics. The mean for the treatment condition is 5.6. The mean for the control condition was 6.1, and then critically we also need to report our t-test because we're talking about a significant difference or not, and then that would be t parenthesis 46, again our degrees of freedom again, equals 0.5, and then p, in this case let's do an exact p-value, was 0.62. Okay? Now, let's say you actually had a significant difference. The only change you make here is you delete all the nots. There was a significant difference. It did cause a significant difference. So you have some stylistic options with how you write your sentence, but it does need to be a complete sentence before you add in any of the actual statistics. All right. This is sort of the basic format. Good luck, and I will catch you later.